dear representatives of government agencies, dear representatives of the corporate sector, we are very, very happy to have you here in this Digiweek 2022. We have supporters from many, many organizations, and that would include those organizations I just mentioned, but also corporate partners like CIPS as well as Gojek, and we're very grateful for your help. And besides welcoming the people in this room here, we're very nervous that this is a hybrid event, but we're also very proud to have a very large following online. As by the moment when we started this webinar, we had 512 online registrants. So consider this to be an enormously large conference hall with a lot of people attending right now. We have moderators moderating the sessions and the panel discussions right here. But we also have online moderators working behind the scenes. We have it all in 2 languages. That's why we have our interpreters here. And so for us, of course, this is an exciting moment to welcome so many people to our Digital Week 2022. Who is CIPS? So briefly, for those who are not yet familiar who we are the Center for Indonesian Policy Studies. We are an independent public policy think tank. That means we are not associated with university, a company, or the government. We are independent, independently financed also. We have 3 main work areas. One is on agriculture and food security. Many of you may have seen our publications on those policies. We are working on education policies, but we also have a strong focus on the digital economy, the digital sector in Indonesia. Our papers were downloaded last year more than 100,000 times, so we do have a wide reach with what we do. And besides the research that we do, we actually also create practical digital and financial literacy tools. We have an online financial literacy game for new employees and young employees to start learning how to manage their money better. And we organize events. And these events are usually meant to bring the government sector and the private sector together to actually find solutions for public policies of Indonesia. And this Digiweek is clearly an example of this. We're having so many representatives of different organizations here in this discussion. What is the Digiweek? The MCs just already mentioned it. It's a series of events. First, we had a student workshop with about 200 online participants from universities all across Indonesia. We then had a seminar about digital online dispute resolution and digital consumer protection with 35 public servants working for several Indonesian ministries. And now this conference as the 3rd and final and the highlight of this Digiweek series. It is about the safe and inclusive digital ecosystem. Why are we calling it a digital ecosystem? Because if you just talk about digital economy, it's just not enough. This is far more than just an economy. We live in and on the internet by now. Everything that's happening, we're expressing our opinions, we are sharing our goods and services. We're doing so many things digitally. We find our way on Google Maps. We find out where's a traffic jam when we go to this conference. There's far more than a digital economy. There's also life in the digital sphere, and that's why we call it a digital ecosystem. How do you make it safe and inclusive? It sounds so easy, but it's not. It's a very complex issue to find safety and inclusivity in the digital sphere. Just think about content moderation. We've been following globally the developments in the European Union, the EU GDPR, obviously. Now the European Union is thinking about the Digital Services Act. In terms of content moderation, it bears risks because it puts the onus of actually moderating content to the terms and conditions of the large electronic service operators. Are they then to decide what is supposed to be expressed online and what is not? It's an issue now on press freedom. It's an issue of freedom of expression. This is complicated, and there are many different perspectives on the matter. Data governance. We had a discussion earlier this morning in a smaller group about data and whether they should cross country borders, whether they should stay within borders, and who is managing them. And obviously, Indonesia is preparing for the personal data protection bill that requires thorough discussion. As we've seen, it takes a long time. Platforms then. Do we need regulations for certain platforms? What are platforms? What is on-demand service versus an online retailer? What are the differences and how do they need to be dealt with in a different way? And finally, look just at the financial sector and how vibrant it is in this country. And I'm so happy that Pak Yulianta is here from OJK because this is such a crucial matter. Just now in May, we were told that the e-money transactions in Indonesia have increased by 1/3 compared to a year earlier. This sector is thriving. We all pay online by now. We're all used to this. Our handphone does all of that for us. We don't go to the banks anymore for our financial transactions. So how do we do this? Do we pass a law that sets very high minimal capital requirements for e-money providers, e-lending companies? This also puts barriers to those who want to enter the market. Are the bigger ones the safer ones? Is that what we're saying? We need to discuss this in detail, and that's what Digiweek is all about. In this dialogue that we are trying to foster, in this conference alone, we have representatives from 8 government ministries and agencies represented in this discussion here in these 2 days. We have the Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, we have the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, Bappenas, the National Planning Ministry, and other ministries and agencies like the National Cybersecurity Agency and others, all represented here. We have several companies and we have several speakers from companies addressing the audience here. And obviously, we also have academic experts, and we're very happy to have representatives from universities in Indonesia flying in for this event and joining us here in person. And we're very happy to have you here and joining this discussion. Today, we're going to speak mostly about digital and financial literacy, as this is a crucial point also for CIPS. This is a very important point. The consumers need to know what they're doing when they engage in the digital sphere. We also want to talk about business development because we're all aware how important internet is, also for micro enterprises. Cybersecurity matters and women empowerment. These are things we want to address today. And then tomorrow we have more highlights. So tomorrow we are going to have an address by His Excellency Minister Sandiaga Uno, who wants to talk to us about how to recover from the pandemic in the tourism sector. He gives us a brief keynote remarks on this. We have Dr. Ilham Habibi, very well known to all of you, who's now on the Presidential Council for Indonesia, ICT, Information and Communication Technologies in Indonesia. So Wantiknas here in the country. And he's also going to talk about the future of technology and what do we need to prepare for. And besides those interesting remarks, we're going to discuss edutech, on-demand services on digital platforms, and we're going to launch a paper on co-regulation, because co-regulation is something CIPS is suggesting. Let the private and the public sector together deliberate regulations and see whether even in the implementation we can get public sector involvement. And the author of the paper, Mr. Aji Satria Sulaiman, is here with us, and he's going to present the paper to us tomorrow within this. Now, what is the success of Digiweek to us? It is if we find a very constructive dialogue. We need a vibrant discussion between all of us here that would make this conference a success. We hope that we create new contacts, we get to know each other, we engage with each other, and out of this we develop new initiatives, new programs for a safe and inclusive digital ecosystem in Indonesia. So I'm very happy to open this year's Digiweek 2021. Again, very well welcome to this conference.